There is a war, not one fought with swords or fire, but a silent, insidious battle waged against your peace. The battlefield, your mind, the enemy. Those who sow doubt with their words, drain your spirit with their presence, and twist reality to keep you bound in their chaos. You feel the weight of their manipulation, the sting of their criticism, the slow erosion of your energy. But what if you refuse to be moved? The greatest fortresses are not built of stone, but of discipline. The strongest warriors do not swing their swords at every insult, they master the art of stillness. The Stoics knew this well. No one can steal your peace unless you hand it to them. No poison can seep into your soul unless you open the gates. Today, you will learn how to become untouchable, how to stand unshaken in the face of provocation, how to let their words dissolve into silence, their tactics break against the walls of your resolve. This is not about escape, it is about power. A power that comes not from control over others, but from mastery over yourself. Breathe deeply. Step into the storm, knowing it cannot touch you. Let's begin. 1. Recognize and understand the threat of toxicity. Not all battles are fought in the open. Some are silent wars waged in the shadows, wars that don't leave visible wounds, yet slowly erode your strength, your peace, your very essence. The greatest threats are often not those that strike with force, but those that infiltrate quietly, corroding your mind before you even realize the damage. And the most dangerous of these, toxic people. They walk among us cloaked in charm, disguised in familiarity. A cutting remark here, a passive-aggressive comment there, a pattern of control masked as concern, manipulation wrapped in sweet words. They drain, they distort, they deceive. If left unchecked, they become architects of chaos in your life, shaping your emotions, your thoughts, and your sense of self. But here's the truth. They only have power if you allow them to. The silent poison. How toxicity operates. Toxic people do not always come with warning signs. They don't announce themselves with a flashing light. Instead, they seep into your life like a slow, creeping fog, subtle, almost unnoticeable, until one day you wake up and realize you can no longer see clearly. The Stoics taught us that our true enemy is never the external force, but our own unguarded reactions. As Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Understanding toxicity begins with understanding your own responses. Do you feel exhausted after certain interactions? Do you notice your confidence diminishing? Do their words replay in your mind, controlling your emotions even when they are no longer present? These are not coincidences, they are signs. Here are the faces of toxicity. The chronic critic. No matter what you do, it is never enough. Every achievement is belittled, every mistake magnified. They plant seeds of doubt, making you question your own worth. The manipulator. They twist reality, using guilt, flattery, or fear to bend you to their will. Their words are carefully chosen traps, designed not to communicate but to control. The energy vampire. After every interaction, you feel drained, depleted, as if they have siphoned your vitality, leaving you empty while they thrive on the chaos they create. The perpetual victim. They take no responsibility, always shifting blame, always demanding your energy, your sympathy, your sacrifice, until you are carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. The first line of defense. Awareness. Imagine yourself as the guardian of a great fortress. Your mind, your peace, your well-being. This is your citadel, and it is your duty to protect it. The first and most critical step, recognizing the threat before it breaches your walls. Seneca reminds us, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." If you allow your energy to be scattered, pulled in every direction by the toxic forces around you, you will find yourself lost, drained, and vulnerable. Awareness is your shield. It is the light that exposes the shadows, the weapon that prevents destruction before it begins. So ask yourself, who in your life stirs turmoil instead of peace? Who leaves you doubting yourself instead of strengthening you? Who demands your energy but offers nothing in return? The moment you see them clearly, their power begins to wane. Because once you recognize the game, you no longer have to play. Stand at the gate, hold the line. Toxicity cannot control you unless it can control your perception, and perception that is entirely within your hands. Before you learn to fight back, you must first learn to see. Before you build your defenses, you must first recognize who is at the gates. 2. Strengthen your boundaries. There was a time when I believed that patience was the highest virtue, that understanding others, tolerating their flaws, and making room for their imperfections was the mark of inner strength. But I was wrong, because patience, when misplaced, becomes a silent invitation for exploitation, and understanding, when stretched too far, turns into self-betrayal. The world is filled with those who take more than they give, who push a little further each time just to see how much you will tolerate. At first, it's subtle, a dismissive remark, a small demand, an expectation that you will bend. Then, as they learn the shape of your silence, they take more. Not because they have power over you, but because you have not yet claimed it for yourself. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius ruled over an empire, yet he knew that his greatest duty was not to command others, but to govern himself. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, he wrote. If you do not protect your mind, if you allow others to impose their chaos upon you, soon enough, you will no longer recognize yourself. The subtle erosion of boundaries. It rarely begins with outright disrespect. No one storms your gates demanding control. Instead, it starts with the little things. A friend who interrupts every time you speak. A colleague who always shifts their workload onto you. A relative who guilt-trips you into obligations you never agreed to. Alone, these moments seem insignificant, but together they form a pattern where your needs, your time, and your energy are no longer yours. At first, you excuse it. They didn't mean it. It's not a big deal. I don't want to cause tension. But each time you let it slide, you send a silent message. My boundaries are optional. And once that message is received, it is rarely forgotten. The power of the unshaken. True strength does not announce itself. It does not demand attention or seek approval. It simply exists unshaken, immovable. A boundary is not a request. It is not a plea for kindness. It is a declaration of self-respect, upheld not through arguments or explanations, but through unwavering action. When someone disrespects your limits, you do not beg for them to understand. You do not negotiate your worth. You enforce the consequence, whether that means walking away, withdrawing your energy, or limiting their access to you. If someone consistently disrespects your time, you stop making yourself available. If someone drains your energy, you step back without explanation. If someone belittles your worth, you remove yourself from their presence, not with anger, not with resentment, but with quiet, undeniable certainty. guarding the gates of your mind. Seneca once wrote, "Associate only with those who make you better." Not everyone deserves entry into your life. Not everyone has earned the right to be near your thoughts, your emotions, or your presence. So take a moment and look at the people around you. Who respects your space and who constantly invades it? Who leaves you feeling stronger and who leaves you exhausted? Who uplifts and who erodes? And then without guilt, without hesitation, decide who no longer belongs within your walls. 3. Become boring to troublemakers. Some people enter your life not to add value but to drain it. They stir chaos, seek attention, and thrive on conflict. They don't need a real reason to provoke you. Discomfort is their currency, and your reaction is their reward. How many times have you found yourself caught in their web? A pointless argument, an unnecessary explanation, a situation that should have been beneath your attention, yet somehow it consumed your energy. The more you resisted, the more they persisted. Why? Because engagement is fuel, and as long as you respond, you are feeding the fire. But what happens when you stop? When you refuse to play their game? When their insults, their manipulation, their endless need for drama meet nothing but stillness? They lose interest. The Stoic strategy: starve the chaos. The Stoics mastered the art of emotional detachment long before modern psychology gave it a name. The grey rock method, widely recognized as a technique for handling manipulative people, is a concept that would have felt natural to Marcus Aurelius Seneca or Epictetus. A rock does not react to the wind, nor does it engage with the waves crashing against it. It simply exists. A fire without fuel burns itself out. A mind that refuses to be disturbed becomes an impenetrable fortress. This is how you handle those who seek to disrupt your peace. You do not argue. You do not explain. You do not defend yourself against baseless accusations. You simply become uninteresting. When they insult, you respond with neutrality. When they push, you do not push back. When they try to provoke, you give them nothing. Indifference is the weapon they cannot fight. Marcus Aurelius and the strength of stillness. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, was surrounded by political schemers and manipulative figures who sought to control him. Yet, he remained unmoved. He did not waste his breath on petty rivalries. He did not seek to prove his worth to those unworthy of his time. Instead, he practiced what he called choosing not to be harmed, a philosophy that teaches us that no insult, no manipulation, no external force can affect us unless we grant it permission. You always have the option of having no opinion. Marcus Aurelius. This is the ultimate power, the ability to decide what deserves your energy and what does not. The silent victory. Imagine a person trying to play chess alone. They move a piece, waiting for you to engage. But you don't. You stand up and walk away. They are left sitting there, frustrated, powerless, realizing that their game means nothing without you. This is what happens when you disengage from toxic people. They expect a reaction. They want you to fight back, to defend yourself, to justify your position. But when you become a grey rock, when you offer them no resistance, they find no satisfaction. Eventually, they move on searching for an easier target, someone still willing to play. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." How often have you feared confrontation, only to realize later that your silence held more power than any argument ever could? Let them talk, let them provoke, let them try. And while they exhaust themselves in their attempts to control you, You will remain steady, untouched, unbothered, unbreakable. 4. Master the technique of repetition. There are people who do not listen to reason, not because they don't understand, but because they don't want to. They push, persist, demand, and manipulate, hoping that with enough pressure, you will bend. They ignore your words, twist your meanings, and wear you down until you surrender, not because they were right, but because you were exhausted. But what if you refuse to engage in their chaos? What if instead of justifying, explaining, or arguing, you simply repeated yourself calmly, firmly, unshaken? This is the essence of the broken record technique, a method both simple and profound. State your position, repeat it, nothing more, nothing less. Why repetition destroys manipulation? The Stoics understood that control over one's emotions is the highest form of power. Epictetus taught that external forces cannot disturb us unless we allow them to. When faced with someone who refuses to respect your boundaries, the greatest mistake is to be drawn into their game. They want you to argue, to explain, to justify, because that gives them something to dismantle, to attack, to twist. But a statement, repeated without variation, is untouchable. It offers no foothold for manipulation. I will not discuss this. That does not work for me. I have made my decision. When met with resistance, do not waver. Do not explain. Simply repeat. Like waves breaking against a stone wall, their persistence will crash against your resolve until eventually they tire. Marcus Aurelius and the strength of steadiness. Marcus Aurelius faced opposition daily, not just from foreign enemies, but from political manipulators within his own empire. Had he entertained every demand, every challenge to his authority, he would have spent his reign fighting meaningless battles. Instead, he remained unmoved. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Marcus Aurelius. This philosophy applies perfectly to repetition. You do not need to justify your truth to those who seek to distort it. State it, stand by it, and let it be. A lesson in unshakable calm. I once knew a man who embodied this principle to perfection. A colleague, always composed, always in control. When pressured to take on responsibilities that were not his, he never raised his voice, never became defensive. He would simply say, "That is not my role." If challenged, he would repeat, "That is not my role." No explanation, no frustration, just calm, immovable certainty. Over time, those who tried to manipulate him learned that there was no point. His words were a fortress, impenetrable, untouchable, the silent victory of the unmoved. People expect resistance. They expect you to argue, to plead, to waver. What they do not expect is calm, unwavering repetition, a response so steady, so predictable, that it becomes impossible to fight against. Seneca once wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant." Do not be dragged into debates you never agreed to. Do not be pulled into justifications you do not owe. State your truth, stand by it, repeat, and while they waste their breath trying to break your resolve, you will remain what they cannot defeat, unshaken. 5. Avoid the trap. There are those who do not seek truth, nor resolution, only a reaction. They cast their words like hooks into the water, hoping you will bite. A passive-aggressive remark, an unjust accusation, a carefully placed insult, not to debate, not to discuss, but to lure you into their storm. How many times have you fallen for it? How often have you found yourself in the middle of a pointless argument, defending yourself against words designed only to provoke? By the time you realize the trap, it is too late. Your peace is gone, your energy wasted. But a Stoic does not take the bait. A Stoic does not fight unnecessary battles. A Stoic sees the game and simply refuses to play, recognizing the trap before it closes. Seneca warned, "A fool is known by his speech, a wise man by his silence." A trap cannot be sprung if you never step into it. The moment you recognize that someone is baiting you, you have already won. The bait can take many forms. The insult disguised as advice. "I'm just saying this for your own good." The guilt trip. "After all I've done for you, this is how you treat me." The deliberate misinterpretation, twisting your words to make you look foolish. These are not invitations to a discussion, they are invitations to chaos. The moment you defend yourself, you are trapped because the goal was never understanding. It was control. The Stoic response: absolute disengagement. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, understood the futility of reacting to provocations. He taught that our power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling how much of ourselves we give away. Imagine standing on a battlefield while an enemy swings wildly at the air. They expect you to step in, to fight, to engage. But what if you don't? What if you simply walk away? What if their insults, their accusations, their desperate need for attention meet nothing but silence? If someone insults you, do not explain, do not retaliate. Let their words die in the air. If someone twists your words, do not waste your breath clarifying. The truth does not need defense. If someone tries to guilt you into submission, recognize it for what it is: manipulation. Withdraw, not with anger, not with defiance, but with quiet, unwavering stillness. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who refused to be moved. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire filled with betrayal and deceit. He was surrounded by those who sought to manipulate him, to provoke him, to pull him into their schemes. Yet, in his meditations, he reminds himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When they baited him with insults, he remained unmoved. When they schemed, he did not waste time exposing them. When they sought to provoke, he refused to engage. His strength was not in aggression, but in mastery over himself. The freedom of detachment. When you stop taking the bait, something remarkable happens. The ones who seek to control you grow frustrated. Their words lose power. Their manipulation ineffective. They either escalate, exposing their own desperation, or they move on, searching for a weaker target. And you remain untouched, unbothered, free. Because in the end, it is not the trap that holds you, it is your decision to step into it. 6. The art of non-reaction. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult requires an answer. Not every provocation deserves your attention. In a world obsessed with immediate responses, with proving a point, with defending every word, there is something unnervingly powerful about stillness. To remain silent when expected to argue, to stay calm when provoked, to be unshaken in the face of chaos, this is true strength. The greatest power is not found in dominance or aggression, but in the ability to control yourself when others cannot control themselves. The illusion of reaction as strength. Most people believe that reacting is necessary, that if someone insults you, you must retaliate. If someone spreads lies, you must correct them. If someone attacks, you must defend. But who really holds the power in that moment? The one who speaks, or the one who remains moved? Seneca once said, "If a person gave your body to a stranger to do with as he pleases, you would be indignant. Yet, you hand over your mind to anyone who insults you, allowing it to be disturbed and troubled." This is the illusion that reacting means control, when in reality it is surrender. When you react in anger, they control your emotions. When you argue, they dictate your focus. When you try to prove yourself, you validate their accusations. Marcus Aurelius, strength in stillness. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius faced opposition from every side: political rivals, scheming generals, disloyal advisors. Had he responded to every attack, he would have spent his life in endless battles. Instead, he practiced the highest form of power: strategic non-reaction. You always have the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you cannot control. This is the art of non-reaction, not suppression, not weakness, but the deliberate choice to remain unaffected by what does not serve you. The power of letting things die in silence. Imagine a person shouting insults into an empty canyon. They expect an echo, a response, something to validate their effort. But the canyon gives them nothing. Their words dissolve into silence, and they are left with only themselves. This is what happens when you refuse to react. A manipulator loses interest. An instigator becomes frustrated. A troublemaker moves on because their power was never in the insult itself, but in your response to it. How to practice the art of non-reaction. It is not easy. The urge to defend yourself, to correct falsehoods, to fight back is strong, but power is found in restraint. Pause before you respond. The first impulse is rarely the best one. A moment of silence can prevent a lifetime of regret. Ask, does this deserve my energy? If something does not improve you, strengthen you, or bring peace, it does not deserve your attention. Let them expose themselves. Those who stir chaos often reveal their true nature without your help. Their own words will undo them. True power lies in mastery over yourself. 7. Limit your exposure. Not all battles are won through resistance. Some are won through distance. There are people who drain you not through physical force, but through words, through negativity, through the quiet erosion of your energy. They pull you into endless complaints, into conflicts that serve no purpose, into conversations that leave you feeling empty. And the more time you give them, the more they take. But a Stoic understands a fundamental truth. Your presence is a privilege, not a right. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, your spirit. The power of choosing who enters your space. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." But what does that mean? It means you must choose carefully, because whether you realize it or not, the people around you shape you. Their thoughts seep into your own. Their emotions influence your state of mind. Their chaos, if you allow it, becomes yours. The chronic complainer. Every conversation is a list of grievances, yet they seek no solutions. They drown in negativity and expect you to swim with them. The manipulator. Their kindness is a tool, their words a weapon. Every interaction is a subtle game where only they win. The energy vampire. You leave their presence feeling drained, exhausted, as if they have siphoned the very life from you. Not everyone must be confronted. Not every problem requires resolution. Some things are best handled in the simplest way possible, by walking away. Marcus Aurelius and the art of distance. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius could not avoid every toxic person, but he understood that while he could not control who existed in his world, he could control how much of himself he gave away. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This is the key. You do not need to hate, to fight, to expose. You simply create space between yourself and the things that disrupt your peace. You do not need to reply to every message. You do not need to attend every gathering. You do not need to explain why you are unavailable. You simply become less accessible. The strength in walking away. Some will call it selfish. They will demand your time, your attention, your energy. They will frame your absence as a betrayal. But ask yourself, is your presence something they value or something they exploit? True peace is not found in fighting for space. It is found in realizing that you never had to justify taking it in the first place. So step back. Withdraw, reduce access. Let them call, let them demand, let them wonder why their grip on you is slipping. And while they exhaust themselves chasing what they once took for granted, you will stand where they can no longer reach, resilient, strong and free. 8. Build a support system. No one walks through life alone, and not even the strongest among us. Even the greatest Stoics, those who preached self-sufficiency and inner strength, understood the power of having the right people around them. Marcus Aurelius had his trusted advisors. Seneca had friends who shared his pursuit of wisdom. Epictetus, though once a slave, built a circle of students who carried his teachings forward. Because the truth is this: strength is not isolation. Strength is knowing who to let in, the people who shape you. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make you better, and welcome those whom you yourself can improve." He understood that the people you surround yourself with either lift you up or pull you down. There is no neutrality. Some people sharpen you like a blade, challenging you to think, to grow, to refine your character. Others dull your edge, filling your life with complaints, distractions, and meaningless noise. A Stoic does not allow this. A Stoic chooses the 3 pillars of a strong support system. The wise mentor, someone who has walked the path before you. Their experience becomes your guidance, their failures your lessons. The loyal ally, a friend who stands firm, who offers truth without cruelty, support without dependence. Someone who strengthens you simply by being there. The silent sanctuary. Not every support is a person. Sometimes it is a book that never fails to offer clarity, a practice journaling, meditation that brings you back to yourself. A place that restores you when the world feels too heavy. Marcus Aurelius and the strength of brotherhood. Though emperor, Marcus Aurelius never sought to rule alone. He surrounded himself with men of reason, of discipline, of integrity. In his meditations, he often reflects on those who shaped his thinking, the philosophers, the generals, even the family members who taught him resilience. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and the quality of your thoughts depends on the voices you allow to influence them. Removing the weak links. Not everyone can be part of your circle. Some people drain instead of replenish. They bring chaos instead of clarity. They test your patience instead of sharpening your discipline. A support system is not about quantity, is about quality. Distance yourself from those who thrive on negativity. Limit exposure to those who do not respect your growth. Surround yourself with those who challenge you to be better. The strength of standing together. Stoicism is not about walking alone. It is about walking with the right people, the ones who push you forward, who remind you of your principles, who stand beside you when the world tests your resolve, because even the strongest walls stand firmer when reinforced. 9. Prioritize self-care. A warrior does not go into battle with a dull blade. A philosopher does not seek wisdom with a restless mind. A leader does not make decisions while drained and depleted. Yet, how often do we neglect the most fundamental responsibility, caring for ourselves? The world glorifies exhaustion. It praises the relentless grind, the sacrifice of well-being in the name of productivity. But what is the cost? A body weakened, a mind clouded, a spirit weighed down by fatigue, a life spent reacting rather than living. The Stoics knew better. To be strong for others, you must first be strong within yourself. The Stoic philosophy of self-care. Self-care is not indulgence. It is discipline. It is ensuring that your body, your mind, and your spirit are in alignment so that when life tests you, you do not break. Seneca, who balanced immense responsibility with philosophical reflection, warned against burning oneself out. The body should be treated more rigorously, that it may not be disobedient to the mind. Care for the body is not vanity, it is preparation. A tired body breeds a restless mind. A restless mind makes poor choices. Poor choices lead to unnecessary suffering. The solution: deliberate, consistent care for yourself, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. 3 pillars of Stoic self-care. Physical mastery. Your body is the vessel through which you experience life. Strengthen it. Move with intention, eat with mindfulness, rest when needed. A neglected body leads to a weakened will. Mental clarity. Guard your thoughts as you would guard a fortress. Limit distractions, protect your solitude. Read, reflect, and remove yourself from unnecessary noise. Spiritual stillness. A Stoic does not chase chaos. Find moments of silence. Meditate on your values. Step away from the noise of the world to hear your own voice more clearly. Marcus Aurelius, a leader who understood the need for rest. Even as Emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius made time to retreat into stillness. His meditations were not written in moments of ease, but in stolen moments of solitude, because he understood that without reflection, without restoration, his decisions would falter. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. If a ruler burdened with the weight of an empire could find time for stillness, so can you. The strength in stepping back. The world will always demand more work, more time, more attention. But ask yourself what happens when you are depleted. Who benefits when you are exhausted? A Stoic does not serve the world by sacrificing themselves to it. They serve it by being strong enough to endure it. So prioritize yourself not selfishly but wisely. Care for your mind, your body, your soul. Step away when needed. Rest without guilt. Because a sharpened mind, a restored body, and a disciplined soul are the greatest weapons against the trials of life. 10. Remember, it's not about you. People will judge you. They will lash out, criticize, belittle. Some will misunderstand you intentionally, twisting your words to serve their own narratives. Others will project their fears, insecurities, and frustrations onto you, as if you are the source of their suffering. But here is the truth. It's not about you. It never was. A Stoic understands this deeply. They do not carry burdens that do not belong to them. They do not internalize the chaos of others. They do not allow someone else's storm to disrupt their inner sky, the weight of others' perceptions. Epictetus, a former slave who rose to become one of the greatest Stoic teachers, taught that people's opinions are merely reflections of their own minds, not of reality. When someone criticizes you, remember, they are not judging you. They are judging their own understanding of you. This is where most people falter. They mistake another's anger for their own failure. They confuse rejection with unworthiness. They take every insult personally, as if it is a verdict on their character. But most of the time, it has nothing to do with them at all. A bitter person projects bitterness. An insecure person seeks to make others feel small. A troubled person looks for an external enemy, because facing themselves is too painful. Marcus Aurelius, rising above the noise. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius faced constant scrutiny. Every decision was questioned, every move dissected. Had he absorbed every insult, every act of betrayal, he would have been consumed by resentment. But he understood something most people do not. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. A Stoic does not waste energy trying to change the minds of those who have already decided to misunderstand them. They let go. The freedom of detachment. Think of an insult as an arrow. If you do not catch it, if you do not hold on to it, it falls harmlessly to the ground. But if you grab it, examine it, take it to heart, it wounds you. If someone speaks poorly of you, let their words belong to them, not to you. If someone blames you for their unhappiness, recognize that their suffering is self-inflicted. If someone hates you without cause, understand that it is their own battle, not yours. By refusing to engage in their negativity, you reclaim your peace. You strip them of control. Rise above, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. Most conflicts, most personal attacks, most moments of tension in life are not about what is right or true. They are about emotion, about wounded pride, about people who have not yet mastered themselves, trying to control what is outside of them. Let them be. Let them wrestle with their own demons. Let their judgments pass over you like the wind. Your duty is not to change their perception. Your duty is to remain unmoved by it. 11. Don't try to fix them. Not everyone wants to be saved. Not everyone seeks growth. Some people cling to their suffering not because they cannot change, but because they refuse to. Yet, how often do we exhaust ourselves trying to pull someone out of the darkness only to realize they have no desire to leave? The Stoics understood a difficult truth. You cannot change people who do not wish to change themselves. The illusion of control. Epictetus taught that the greatest source of human suffering comes from trying to control what is beyond our power, and what is more uncontrollable than another person's mind. You cannot force wisdom upon those who are not ready to receive it. You cannot teach discipline to those who find comfort in chaos. You cannot convince someone to change when they are determined to remain the same. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. Marcus Aurelius. Leading without forcing. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius led by example. He never wasted time trying to change those who refused to see reason. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his own actions, his own mind, his own response to the world. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. He understood that the best way to inspire change is not through force, but through demonstration. The burden that was never yours. How many times have you taken on the emotional weight of another? How often have you tried to fix someone's destructive habits, their self-inflicted misery, their refusal to grow? And what did it cost you? There is wisdom in knowing when to help and when to step back. Offer guidance, but do not force it. Be an example, but do not demand change. Support, but do not carry. A drowning man will either learn to swim or pull you down with him. The power of detachment. Seneca wrote, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." You can offer wisdom, but you cannot make someone use it. You can extend a hand, but you cannot force them to grasp it. So, let go. Not with resentment, not with bitterness, but with the quiet understanding that their journey is their own. Release yourself from the burden of trying to fix others. Redirect that energy into mastering yourself. Because the greatest act of strength is knowing when to walk away. 12. Know when to walk away. There is a moment when patience is no longer a virtue, when endurance is no longer wisdom, when staying becomes a silent act of self-betrayal. The world teaches persistence. Fight for relationships, hold on, try harder. But a Stoic knows that true strength is not in clinging, but in knowing when to let go. Walking away is not weakness, it is clarity, the chains we refuse to break. Epictetus taught that suffering is not caused by events themselves, but by our attachments to them, and few attachments are harder to sever than those we have with toxic people, destructive environments, or fading relationships. We tell ourselves we must endure, that things will change, that walking away means failure. But ask yourself, is your loyalty costing you your peace? Are you staying because of love or because of fear? Are you trying to save something that no longer serves you? Not everything is meant to be held onto. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Marcus Aurelius, choosing what deserves his presence. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet even he knew that not everything was worth his time, his energy, his mind. He reminded himself, if you are troubled by something external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment of it, and this you have the power to change. There is power in deciding what no longer deserves you. You do not need to justify your exit. You do not owe your presence to those who drain you. You are allowed to leave, simply because staying is no longer right. The strength of walking away. A lion does not waste its roar on sheep. A warrior does not fight meaningless battles. A wise man does not stay where he no longer belongs. Let go of the need for closure. Let go of the hope that they will understand. Some people will never see why you left, and that is not your burden to carry. Because sometimes the most powerful move is not to fight, not to argue, not to prove yourself, but to walk away in silence. 13. Forgive yourself. Regret is a heavy chain. It binds you to the past, forcing you to relive mistakes, replay words you cannot take back, and dwell on choices that can no longer be undone. It keeps you trapped, weighed down by things you cannot change. But a Stoic does not live in chains. The past exists only as a memory. It has no substance, no force unless you give it power. And yet, how often do we punish ourselves for being imperfect? How often do we hold on to guilt long after the moment has passed? The futility of self-punishment. Epictetus, who once lived as a slave, understood suffering. He knew that while pain is inevitable, clinging to it is a choice. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. To grow, you must accept that you were once blind, that you made mistakes, that you were not who you are today. But self-condemnation serves no purpose. It does not undo the past, nor does it create a better future. A lesson learned is a mistake repaid. Growth is proof that the past no longer defines you. Holding on to guilt is like gripping a burning coal. You suffer. Marcus Aurelius, letting go of the unchangeable. As emperor, Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of Rome on his shoulders. He made decisions that affected millions, and surely not all of them were right. But instead of drowning in guilt, he reminded himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Do not waste time punishing yourself for what has already been done. Instead, choose to be better now. If you failed, let it teach you. If you hurt someone, seek to do good. If you regret your past, build a future that redeems it. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not making excuses. It is simply refusing to be imprisoned by what you can no longer change. Releasing the weight that was never yours to carry. Imagine standing at the edge of a river, holding a stone. It is heavy, smooth from being worn down by time. This stone represents your guilt, your regret, your past mistakes. You can hold on to it, let it weigh down your arm, burden your steps, or you can open your hand, let it fall, let the river carry it away. Because the truth is, you were never meant to carry it forever. Forgive yourself not because you deserve it, but because growth demands it. Life will test you. People will provoke, manipulate, drain, and challenge your inner peace. But remember, you are the guardian of your mind. No one enters without your permission. No words harm you unless you let them. No situation controls you unless you surrender to it. The Stoics did not seek to control the world, they sought to master themselves. And that is the path you must walk. Recognize toxicity. Set firm boundaries. Disengage from chaos. Choose stillness over reaction. Walk away when necessary. Forgive yourself and move forward. You owe nothing to those who seek to disrupt your peace, but you owe yourself clarity, strength, and unshakable resilience. If you found wisdom in this, if you seek more lessons on building a Stoic mind, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with those who need it. Together we build a stronger, calmer, more untouchable self. This is your mind. This is your fortress. Guard it well.